do, 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 do. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our military, they're important. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our military, they're important. And when I'm in a jam, when I'm in the jam, I know that I can call up the man with the plan. When I'm on the run, when I'm on the run, all I gotta do is dial 911. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our military, they're important. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our military, they're important. And when I'm in a jam, I know that I can call up the man, with the plan. When I'm on the run, all I gotta do is dial 911. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our veterans, they're important. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our veterans, they're important. And when they're out at war, you know I appreciate them more. Thank you, Lord. And when they keep us safe, you know they make America a better place. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our military, they're important. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our military, they're important. And when I'm in a jam, I know that I can call up the man, with the plan. When I'm on the run, all I gotta do is dial 911. 911, 911. Thank you for your service. There we go. I did it. I said that was going to be one of the specials for 10K subs. Was going to be me saying we love our cops. Maybe I'll do a separate song just for that. But hello, everybody. It's great that for those of you who can make it now or could make it in the near future, this is the 10,000 sub stream. I didn't have anything super interesting prepared for this other than my terrible singing skills. But I figured I'd just come on. It's been a while since I've done a stream. I've just been super busy lately. So maybe just talk a bit about what's been going on in my life. What just stuff that happened with the channel, that kind of thing. So if anybody has any questions, just kind of put them in the chat. So maybe to just go back a bit, when I started this channel, that was way back in, when was it? Like 2015, 2016? Maybe early. Maybe it was like 2013. It was a long time ago when I first started this channel. Let me go see when the oldest videos I still have up are. Let's see here. When was the oldest video? Because I deleted a lot of the really old ones because they were even cringier than the modern stuff. Okay, the oldest one is from 2013. So next year it'll be 10 years since I started this channel. So yeah, it was 2013 when I made the first video. Back then, this channel was called... Rain's just sitting over by the window. I'll get her to come over in a minute. Back then, this channel was called Liberty and Justice because I was more of a libertarian back then. Then I just went by my previous one, which was Strategos. And then I just moved on to Argent Templar. And then I just dropped a lot of the... I just dropped the Templar because it was kind of cringy and LARPy. And I went with just Argent. To quote Inspector Gadget, one word, like Madonna. And then I undid whatever cringe I lost with the Espeon avatar. So why did I decide to go with the Espeon avatar? It's an interesting question. Basically, I thought that it was less cringy in a way than having like a knight or having some like historical famous character, especially if I was going to be doing movie reviews and doing videos about anime and just various fictional stuff. Also, I just thought it was a bit more original. But yeah, Espeon is my favorite Pokemon, and he's been my favorite Pokemon since Silver. When did Silver come out? Was that like 2013, 2009 or something? Um, sorry, 1999. Yeah, 1999. And Espeon's been my favorite Pokemon ever since then. So I just decided to go with that, and I decided to go with the Silver Espeon. The origin of Argent is at the time because I was listening to a lot of conservative talk radio. I was collecting a lot of silver bullion, and everything in Canada has French and English, so it says Argent on the silver coins. So I thought that was kind of a cool name, and I decided to go with it. Um, yeah, Silver Game Boy came out like 2000 in the West. Yep. It came out on GameCube, which was sorry, Game Boy, which was cool. Honestly, I think the best game, my favorite console of all time, is probably the Game Boy Advance. To be honest, I love the Game Boy Advance. So many good games on it. Tactics Ogre, Knight of Lotus, um, the three Castlevania games that were on it, although Harmony of Dissonance wasn't very good. But Circle the Moon and Dawn of Sorrow were both really good. You had like the first three Mega Man Battle Network games. Just a whole bunch of good shit that you had on it. One of my favorite uh, consoles of all time. I also really like the GameCube a lot. I think the N64 was like my first normal console. I had a Sega Genesis, but I had like two games on it, and I was not very good at it. I like the N64 a lot. So what was I saying? So initially, I did a lot of more kind of generic, kind of conservative, libertarian talking points. And then I kind of got into NRX a bit more, and I kind of started doing more of that stuff. Do you know any of the anti Bro Sterner people on Twitter? Basically, era armchair warlord RWA people like this. I have no idea what that means. I'm sorry. Um, what was I thinking of? What was I saying? I was never very good at Advanced Wars, but yeah, Advanced Wars was a kind of a quality game series from what people tell me. I just sucked at it, so I never could get into it really. Yeah, the West Coast reactionary period. So I kind of got into that. I was hanging out with like Adam Wallace. Let's see, there was Adam Wallace. That was back when Iberian used to be around. Dubby. I'm trying to think who else was from that period. Andrew. There was a bunch of different people from that period, and I was kind of in the whole NRX thing for a little bit. And then I found it kind of got stale. I think my biggest issue with NRX was I just found a lot of it to be either indifferent to Christianity or just not very friendly to Christianity. So I kind of left it largely because of that. Also, I just found a lot of it kind of got cringe and was played out over time. Just a lot of the Evola stuff, the Dugan stuff, the Aristocrat of the Soul stuff. I don't remember why Adam Wallace left. Um, it was something pretentious. I don't know. One of the things that especially kind of irritated me is like the NRX people who converted to Catholicism because they thought that it was like this esoteric thing that was compatible with neo-paganism or something, which is kind of what Dugan did. Because Dugan, for some reason, thinks that the Old Believers are a neo-pagan group, which I don't even really understand. Um, to be honest, it was kind of a little bit odd. And then I kind of went through a bit of a TRS phase, and then TRS kind of once again, I just kind of stopped being interested in that. I think it was because that it was a couple episodes. It's when they started having Weave on. It was also when they kept having people call in and like write in about race mixing. And they were like, oh, it's okay, and stuff like that. And they weren't even really consistent with their own ideology. That and it was full of feds and doxers and people who just kind of leaked like a sieve. So there was stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't remember what happened with Adam Wallace. He just kind of left to go. I don't know, do something esoteric. Maybe he's gone to a higher plane of existence or something to that effect. Found your channel thanks to the Sigma Male Arini. Yeah, you can talk about the Arini thing if you want. To be fair, I kind of do regret starting a beef with him. So what happened with Arini is Arini joined this like really crappy neo-pagan cult called the Free Folk, and I was doing some stream snipes making fun of them. And Arini had just left the internet permanently, and then he showed up. And then, so I wound up kind of making fun of him. And then I started watching Arini streams, and he just started doing like the cringiest stuff. And so I just kind of started to make fun of him. Um, does the DR even exist anymore? What's the DR? Like Arini started to adopt just some very he was really like he became pro pornography. He's a massive coomer. Like he claims to be a traditional Catholic or whatever, but he always talks about how many women he's banged. Um, just a whole bunch of really weird shit, and just his spiral into depression and insanity was just kind of it was fascinating. Like you could just watch him and he would just come up with the most insane shit for hours and hours. And it was just kind of fun to clip. Eventually he just became really low energy and it was just kind of boring. What ultimately killed it was Arini started to he stopped doing video podcasts and he started doing audio only podcasts. And in order to do something like that, to like archive them, I would have had to take the audio, combine it with an image, and then upload it like that. And it just to render something that's like 3 hours long is just a massive pain in the ass, and I just really didn't want to deal with it. So that's kind of the reason why I stopped updating the Sigma Supreme. It's just because it's so much of a pain to try to get the stuff and put it up, and to just make fun of Arini at this point, it's just But yeah, Arini would talk about how he was going to make like millions of dollars a year. He was talking about how he's just like he's going to take over Canada with a few good men. He was like going to become the king of Canada and just all kinds of random shit. And he really kind of brought it upon himself. Sorry if that was a DSP snort. So that was kind of something that yeah. I do actually regret it. I don't think it was probably right in the long run. Arini hadn't really done anything to me personally, and it was probably unfair of me to go after him and make fun of him. It started off largely as just him incidentally being involved with it, but it kind of got worse and worse as time went on. Because I know in the beginning, most people were on Arini's side in the Arini Beckloff fight, but over time, Arini just became more and more unhinged and became a bigger and bigger asshole. And most people eventually decided with Beckloff in the end. So that's what happened with that. I also kind of regret. I guess you could say I sort of started a beef with Millennial Woes because I just started making fun of him all the time. Um, because I just found him really obnoxious. Because I found him like a massive e-bagger, and not only was he a massive e-bagger, but he was just kind of lazy and never made the videos that he said he was gonna make. And I don't know. I just don't like the NRX stuff that's not Christian. Um, and also, I just had a number of major disagreements with him on a lot of social issues. So I do regret that. I do think that that was wrong for me to make fun of him the way I did and to kind of unnecessarily start a beef when he had never really made fun of me personally. So I don't know. Regrets I have a few, but in the end, too few to mention. Um, I guess that's kind of some of this. You kept attacking all the based F words. Yeah, so most of my beefs with people are over the F slur and certain people's tolerance of it. Like, I got into an argument with Endeavor over that because like I used to be on his server and everybody there was like F slurs are based. Greg Johnson's based. Greg Johnson's like the greatest man. He's the true leader of the white race. And I was like, he's an AIDS infested degenerate who we shouldn't listen to. But everyone was like, Greg Johnson's based. And that was kind of something that I got into a lot of arguments with people over. Um, just stuff like that in general. Because I've always maintained that the traditional family is the fundamental base for any kind of conservative movement or any kind of right wing movement in general, that it's the founding block of society. Even though I'm not obviously not married and I don't have children, I do think that the standard for society should be the nuclear family, the mother, father, and the children, and that's the base unit of society, not the state or not the individual. Oh, Millennial Woes came out. Oh, okay. Well, I think he had like terabytes of gay porn on his like PC or something like that. I if that is slander, I don't know. But I just find with the F slurs, they just always get involved in everything and they just subvert everything. And it just kind of ruins whatever the movement is, or whatever the stuff involved with it is. And I've always been very strong on that issue, a lot stronger than a lot of other people in these circles. It's probably just because I'm from Canada, so I have more exposure to them than a lot of people like that. So I tend to kind of know more what it's like. Irini is also an F slur. Yeah, I think he is actually. Um, but I just find like whenever we're gonna say like, oh, it's this based guy, they wind up um, being some sort of a Judas or some sort of subverter of the movement. And I mean, as nice as an ethno state would be, if the ethno state is just a bunch of single mothers like Coomers, degenerates, then what's even really the point of it in the first place? If you're just going to have kind of a shit show anyways. I don't know. That tends to be kind of how I feel about it. What are my thoughts on the JQ? Um, so, how edgy do I want to be on YouTube? I have fairly standard feelings for these circles about the JQ. With regards to people who have converted, I would like to say that people who um, I'd like to say that they're my brothers in Christ and they're like 100% good. There's just been so many cases where JQs have converted to Christianity and then they get involved and then they immediately start kind of subverting things. So I think they're welcome. I just don't know if they should really be in leadership positions. Maybe that's kind of too edgy for YouTube, but that's kind of my position on the matter. Do I keep up with DSP? No, I just kind of got bored of DSP. It's just I felt the saga had kind of come to a conclusion, and that was around the time when like the PPP Ethan Ralph stuff started happening, and I just found that stuff more interesting than PPP. So, sorry, more interesting than DSP. But no, I just find in a lot of circles, if you give kind of a leadership role to someone who's converted, they'll just start saying, "Oh, we got to be softer towards this. We got to be more softer towards that sort of thing." But obviously, I would prefer that they convert to Christianity and they embrace our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But there's that. Culture Thug. I like Culture Thug. I periodically watch some of his videos. He is interesting. I find most of the stuff he does about third position stuff to be very fascinating. Yeah, I like Culture Thug. I think I found him through Serp because Serp's a big fan of Culture Thug because Serp is kind of a Serp's basically a third positionist. Um, Actually, it's kind of funny what happened with Serp is so Serp was ironically becoming a communist. Like he was saying Ceausescu is based and like Stalin was his hero and stuff, ironically. And like the Sedevacantist rad trad friend of ours basically just bullied him and told him he was going to hell until he dropped it and stopped making the and stopped making the Nazpul stuff. So here's the thing. The problem with a lot of irony is basically just there to give plausible deniability for opinions that you'd otherwise get in trouble for having. Um, so I'm just trying to think of how to describe it. So what you'll do is you have the opinion that like it's not gay to have sex with traps, but you're pretending to be a conservative. So then you do videos saying that traps are based, and then if anyone calls you on it, you say that it's just irony, bro, and it's not real. But the idea is that you're able to put your real opinion out there and appeal to people who have that opinion. Well, at the same time, if you um, at the same time, if you get called out on it and your subscriber base doesn't like it, then you can just say, "Oh, it's just irony, bro. It's just a joke. I wasn't being serious with it." So that's kind of my issue with it. And I guess that's kind of how I differentiate when I do kind of an irony video or a parody video or a joke video. Generally speaking, it's pretty obvious that it's a position I don't really agree with, or it's done purely for humor purposes, or to kind of point out hypocrisy, rather than kind of an attempt for me to float something. I mean, it's especially when you say something that's largely consistent with your worldview, aside from like your worldview otherwise, and then if you get called on it, you're like, no, it's not actually the case, or as Ethan Ralph would say, it's not true, or something like that. So I just kind of have grown to hate the whole irony thing, particularly the whole irony bro thing. Hey, Rain, come here, girl. Here we go. I'm just picking up Rain. I lured her over with some treats. She doesn't seem to want to be pet at the moment. Okay, fine, you can go. Okay, she ran away. So, I think I've mentioned it's pretty likely in the near future that I'm going to get a job in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And so I'll probably have to move out there sometime in August. Either or late August or early, what is it called? September. So it's a good job. It's a good opportunity. It's in a more of a career field in which I've studied in. It's just Manitoba's kind of not the nicest place in the world, but it's cheap. So, for instance, when I was living in Toronto proper and not with my parents, it was $1,500 for this really shitty, like, one room apartment with, like, a tiny bathroom and a kitchenette. In Manitoba, a one bedroom sizable apartment is like $900 a month. So that's good. It'll be kind of nice to have that. Winnipeg's not the nicest city in the world, but it's cheap and I can save money living there. So also, it's kind of an adventure. Uh, it's kind of an adventure moving out west. Let's see comments, thoughts on Gnostics, but after a lot of them seem top have Reddit tier takes. I'll talk about Gnostics in a minute. Um, what's going to happen with Ukraine and Biden? I have no idea. I'm going to be honest. I don't really have a clue. Um, I don't know what to say about that. Let's see. What else do we have here? Um, so, Gnostics. So, the issue with Gnosticism is the idea that the material world is evil. And as a Christian, this is kind of antithetical to the way that we're supposed to think about the world. Because the world is good because God created the world, but it's flawed. The ultimate state of a human is not to be a disembodied soul in some kind of distant immaterial realm, but eventually to have the soul and body reunited in a perfected form, which is what's going to happen in the new heaven and the new earth. So at the moment, we're souls and bodies, but are the kind of the combination of the two of them is imperfect. Our bodies are only temporary, and they eventually break down and fall apart because of the entropy and thermodynamics in this world. But and then once we die, our souls go to heaven. But once again, that's not meant to be the final state. We're not ultimately supposed to be separated from our souls, sort of from our bodies. And then the idea behind the new heaven and new earth is that we will be put together in a perfected union. That's what they mean when they say Jesus rose from the dead. It's that his soul and body entered their perfected form. It's not necessarily that he came back from the dead, because Jesus brought Lazarus back from the dead, and we don't refer to him as being the Messiah in the same way Christ is. So that's kind of the issue with Gnosticism. Is it denies the good aspects of the material world. And that was kind of a debate, because a lot of aspects of because when you got into Zoroastrianism, you eventually got Manichaeism, which was the debate was kind of to a certain extent over whether or not the material world was evil. You wouldn't say Christianity is Gnostic. The concept of being born in sin seems deeply Gnostic to me. So, there is something to the big T traditionalist perennialist idea that all religions do have a certain commonality to them. And I mean, as a Christian, that makes sense to me because the universe is set up by God in a certain way, and a lot of aspects of that are discernible from reason or observation or something like that. So throughout the world, um, we do see different interpretations of, I guess, kind of natural theology or natural law or things like that. And there are certain truths about it. My general opinion is that all religions contain varying amounts of truth, but only Christianity contains the fullness of truth. Because there's aspects of Christianity that are revealed specifically, that you can't necessarily get through reason. Like, there's not really a way to get to the Trinity through natural reasoning. You can come to a lot of different aspects of Christian theory, be it monotheism, like God's benevolence, natural law. You can come up with a lot of things about God through pure reason, but certain aspects of it can only really come from being a revealed religion. If I could maybe take a slight digression, it's an interesting idea somebody said to me, and you can agree with this or disagree with this, but his thought was that the Trinity kind of has to be divinely inspired because it's so counterintuitive and so like different from anything you'd kind of understand in a natural world. Like, monotheistic God makes sense. The idea of different forces of nature being personified, that makes sense. Reincarnation makes sense. Oscillating universe makes sense. And then you just have the Trinity, this bizarre, difficult to describe, counterintuitive thing. And it almost feels like it kind of has to be some sort of divine revelation. Because I don't really know where else that it would kind of come from. I think the way I've kind of come up with understanding the Trinity is that it's the perfection of both the singular and the plural. That it is both singular and plural at the same time, and it's the perfect form of both of those. I don't know if that really makes sense, but someone had said that to me, although he described it as an ontological singularity. But it's something that I particularly like. Um, Ultimately, I think the Bible can be interpreted different ways as being wholly Gnostic or a hybrid of this world and the metaphysical. Well, Gnosticism developed out of a number of different things: Zoroastrianism, Hinduism, Greek philosophy, stuff like that. Also, keep in mind that these things influenced each other over time. So a lot of stuff to do with Gnosticism was reinterpreted by Christian authors. So they would have used terminology that's probably more familiar to a Christian writer, and they would have maybe phrased things more that way. And you have stuff that kind of goes back and forth, um, but between the different systems. And that's always something you have to keep in mind, that things tend to borrow a lot, if not necessarily theologically in terms of terminology or analogy, from one another. So, like, a lot of aspects of Christian philosophy come from Greek philosophy, like particularly Platonism, but also Aristotelian philosophy. And they are largely accurate metaphysical interpretations of the world, and they kind of use concepts from it, like the logos, like the demiurge, things like that. So I don't know if that kind of answers the question, but Argent, how does it feel to outlast the vast majority of your peers on YouTube? I mean, it feels good. I kind of made a decision a long time ago. One of the reasons I never really got into networking and going on other people's shows Was it just seemed like people who kind of got more involved in the sphere got doxxed or their channels got shut down? I think probably about half the people in these spheres who get banned from YouTube are probably banned by another right wing figure rather than the left. I think it's somebody who's like butthurt or someone they're having drama with or something like that, who they're getting into just kind of arguments over that sort of thing. Um, Gnosticism is a concept. So yeah, it's nice. I mean, I'm pretty happy with how things are. I mean, it would be nice obviously if I made more money, but I have a decent viewer base. I get several hundred views per video. It's kind of a fun hobby. I've met a lot of cool people through this over years. Some people I've met in real life and are probably that will probably be my friends for a long time to go. So no, it's good. I enjoy it. Um, I enjoy it. I would say Christianity is Gnostic in the sense that it places the absolute truth in a non material realm. I suppose so. Um, well, that's a question is just starting to. So feel free to ignore, but I'm getting married to a Protestant girl in the next few months with church position. She's agreed to raise the kids Catholic. That's great news, man. I'm very happy. I'm happy for you. Um, I hope you have a successful and loving marriage, and that your kids turn out all right. I do think it's important to raise your children in a religious tradition, even if you're not particularly religious yourself. I do think a man has to live by a code, and it's good to bring your kid up with some sort of structure to their kind of their moral worldview. There's also the aspect of it that it does have a certain degree of discipline, even if it's kind of very slight when it comes to having to go to church every week, and that just kind of being something that you do. So, what's the? Let's see. Are you gonna talk to Dave the Distributist? Maybe. I haven't really been watching much of his stuff at the moment. Um, so that kind of thing. Uh, we have God's existence, probably the first cause or the cosmological argument, because I don't really see how the universe can exist without a non material cause that's outside of time and that's outside of the causal chain. So I tend to think that that's it. Uh, the feuds between other right wingers and centrists is ironically one of the biggest falls that take down right wingers. Uh, I'm not sure about that. It depends, I guess, how you describe your that sort of thing. So let's see here. As we're talking, I'm going through my Facebook page and just pulling some more memes to add to the thing that I had to the slideshow. So there's been a lot of good memes over the years, that sort of thing, that I have been too lazy to put down. So if people want to talk about the latest drama with the Kino Casino and Godwinson and stuff like that. So I don't like Godwinson. I don't know if I've really talked about him a lot in the past. I really don't like Godwinson. He is funny and clever and stuff like that. But he is. Godwinson's a snake. He's one of the biggest snakes I've ever seen. Like, when it comes to people who pretend to be your friend and then backstab you and humiliate you and use the fact that they were close to you as a way of hurting you. I think Godwinson is one of the absolute worst examples of that. Because is there anyone that Godwinson's worked with that he hasn't burned and done videos on and tried to ruin their lives? I can't really think of anyone, to be honest. I also find that Godwinson will um, the Godwinson will concern troll whatever position will make the person he's fighting with worse. So, like if he's attacking someone on the right, he'll call them like a racist or a Nazi or something like that. If he's attacking someone on the left, he'll do it from like a conservative standpoint. And I find he'll often just make stuff up, and he'll mix it in though with just enough truth and just enough like legitimate criticisms that you can kind of swallow the other stuff um, that kind of go along with it. So I think he was very clever when it came to the whole attack on Kino Casino, because I think he realized that people like PPP and no one likes Andy Worski. So his decision was to mainly focus on attacking Worski and blame him for everything, which, like I said, I think is a good idea. Actually, because Worski is obviously lazy. Like for most of the duration of the show, if you've ever noticed, his whenever they're watching clips or something like that, he always will like he's never he doesn't hasn't seen the clip, he's never does show prep or anything like that. And he's fighting what's his name, Salt Pepe? Salt I It doesn't make any sense. Some dude that like no one's ever heard of. Maybe has anyone here heard of Salt Pepe or like whatever his name is? I've never heard about him, and Andy made it like this big deal. He's like, this is way bigger than fighting Ralph. And it's like, well, but I don't even know who he is. And so Andy's decided he's going to become like uh, a professional boxer. I just don't know if anyone cares about it. He just always talks about his training and stuff like that. So I think Andy Worski is lazy. Another aspect of Worski is Worski has never held any position for any amount of time. He is just kind of a social and political chameleon who whatever group he's in, he'll just adopt that and use that as kind of a way to make money. So that's kind of my opinion. I don't like Andy Worski. I don't find him funny. I don't find him interesting. I hated his old show. I hate his current. He adds really not a lot to the Kino Casino. He just kind of pauses the clip, has fake laughter, and doesn't really know what's going on. So no, I don't like Andy Worski. As a Canadian, I apologize for him. With regards to Ashton, I really have no idea how to feel about him. I have very mixed feelings about Ashton. The times I've talked to him, he's always been really nice to me. So I don't have anything personal against him. I find him kind of difficult to figure out. Like, is he sincere with his views? Is he not sincere with his views? How much of it is trolling? How much of it is real? Like, at the core, who is the real Ashton Parks? I don't really know at the end of the day. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Is I have very mixed feelings about him. So the thing that got them in a lot of trouble was the flamenco episode, which I even did a video indirectly kind of criticizing. So maybe flamenco is like into the CP. Maybe he is into that. I don't know, but they presented zero evidence that he was involved with it. Like, let's be honest. I followed so many different groups over the years and different pages on like Facebook and YouTube and stuff that if they started posting like CP, I wouldn't even know. Like maybe there's a group that posts pictures from uh, Eastern Europe, like urban ruin from Eastern Europe. It's like pictures that look like it's from a stalker game or something like that. And maybe one day they could just start posting CP and it wouldn't even come up in my feed because of how fucked it is. And then someone would just be like, oh, well, this group that you're part of started posting this shady shit. And you're just like, oh, I didn't even really know what that is, um, to be honest. So apparently there's like more information about the other about stuff like that. So, but they didn't really present any of it, and they somehow lost the flamenco. And losing to flamenco is a pretty bad place to be. I'm not gonna lie. Losing to like the retarded autistic skeleton. So, so that happened. With regards to the whole like power chat thing, I really have no idea how to feel about that. I don't really understand the whole situation. I don't get, were they banned from Stream Elements or something? Because I don't get why they didn't just use Stream Elements or some one of the other kind of normal donation services. They had to use something made up by that weirdo Lules who is like Baked Alaska's butt buddy, who's retarded and is kind of a groiper. Like, I don't even really get it. It doesn't really make any sense to me. I'm not gonna lie. And I don't really know how to deal with it. I don't know how they're gonna deal with it. I think Cog is right. I think they did lie. Because Cog went back and he found some examples of them talking about Power Chat and saying that it was owned partially by Baked Alaska, like before this whole thing happened. So it you can't really say that they didn't know about it. They very clearly did know about it. Um, so I don't know what to say. So, do I have any interest in the Colombian insurgency? I thought the Colombian insurgency was basically over at this point in time. So, it's kind of the way it is. I don't really think anything's going on in Colombia at the moment. What are your thoughts on the Nation of Islam? You know, it's funny you mention that because I was looking it up the other day. The Nation of Islam is actually way weirder than I thought it was. Like, I didn't realize the Nation of Islam doesn't believe in an afterlife, and it doesn't really believe in a monotheistic God. It thinks that there's like a series of black men going back like thousands of years, and each one in like a row is like becomes God. But yeah, like they don't believe in an afterlife. They don't believe in a transcendent deity. There's just all kinds of other weird shit involved with them. They really have nothing to do with Islam as it is, to be honest. You can't really go with that. It's kind of funny because I'm doing a D&D game with Serp at the moment, and basically it's like it's ancient. It's basically Egypt but with dinosaurs, and the big bad of the game is Yakub. Um, We're Europeans who got transported into this Egypt with the dinosaurs in it. And my character is a English mercenary from the Hundred Years' War, and I'm playing him as a neutral evil character. So like anytime we come across people he wants to like sell them into slavery or like demands like unrealistically high amounts of money and just kind of backstabs whoever he can come across, which is pretty funny. But yeah, Yakub is the big bad, and a lot of the people are trying to get. How is it? I lost my train of thought there, but yeah, it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. Also, the Nation of Islam is like a weird UFO cult. I don't know. It just it doesn't make any sense. But you have all these weird like Mormonism is kind of like that too. Don't get me wrong, Mormonism's nowhere near as bad as Nation of Islam, but it's pretty weird to be honest. Something that I really don't like is the whole. I'm just looking at Kath Juche. The whole ironic meme that because Biden's Catholic, that's why they stopped. He was the one who stopped abortion. He's the one who brought it in. And I don't actually think it's irony. I think what it is there are a lot of people who are Catholic supremacists and just hate Protestants. And so and they just hate Protestants. And so they'll give credit to Joe Biden because he's nominally Catholic. I guess it's actually cringier than CI. I actually watched Cuties and I did a review of it. Cuties actually made me physically ill. I had to watch it in parts because it was just legitimately like mentally disturbing to me. That thing was fucked. That was like one of the first times I heard about Dax Herrera, aka Diddler Dax, um, about because or Dick Masterson or whatever his name is. Um, yeah, Dick Masterson. Um, he was like that. He said that was the hill that he was going to die on. The hill that he was going to die on was to support cuties. That was like the one time that what's it called again? Um, oh yeah, he had a debate with Andy Worski on Lolly because Worski was taking the perspective that Lolly should be illegal, and Dick was took the perspective that Lolly is like free speech, and Andy just completely felted him. And if you like are getting felted by Andy Worski, that's a tough place to be in a debate. But I don't know. I don't think a I'm not a free speech absolutist. B I don't think lolly should be legal. I don't think the sexualization of children should be legal. I don't. That's apparently like a controversial opinion or something to libertarians, but I don't know. It just kind of makes sense to me, to be honest. Will you ever do a character profile review of Berserk? I did a couple videos on Berserk. Um, let's see. Okay, there I banned that guy. I don't really ban too many people. I mostly just ban people post, who spam post or who are bots. What was I thinking of again? Yeah, I've done a couple videos on Berserk. I'm happy that this series is going to be finished by Mira's friend, because I would really like to see how it would end. I'm very curious to see what the ending is going to be like, because there's just a lot of questions that haven't been resolved yet. So that should be good. I do think Griffith is one of the best villains of all time. To be honest, because Griffith, like, the show does a really good job of you as the viewer getting seduced by Griffith, because he's such a charismatic figure and he seems like such a great guy. And at the beginning, Guts is like this massive asshole, or no, sorry, it's just this broken character, and he's this just kind of just a barbarian, and he gets kind of redeemed and becomes like a better person because of Griffith. But then it turns out that like Griffith is actually the Antichrist, and it kind of shocks you in the same way that it shocks what's it called again? That it shocks Guts and Casca and kind of the rest of the team. So if I had to flee Canada, Latin America, which country would you go to? I don't know, probably Costa Rica. I know that's kind of like the most generic name. Generic country. No, Belize. I'd go to Belize because they speak English there. I'm gonna go to Belize. I'd go to Belize. I mean, it's rough because Canada's my home. Even if I hate a lot of aspects of it, even if I get angry about it a lot, it's still home. It's still where I grew up. It's where my grandparents are buried. That kind of thing. So, but yeah, I think the Kino Casino is going to survive this. Maybe not in its current form. I think eventually Warski might get canned and it'll just be PPP or something like that. But we'll see soon enough, I suppose. With regards to America First, if people want me to talk about that, I think my single biggest issue with Nick Fuentes is that he's a pathological liar. And not only that, but he lies when like there's no reason to lie. And to me it's always like a red flag when somebody lies when they don't have to and they tell the truth when they don't have to. Like I remember when he started doing White Boy Summer, um he said that Chicago was underwater and he couldn't find a rental car in the city. And I just can't believe that in fucking Chicago he was incapable of finding a rental car. it just seems crazy to me. So I don't really know what to even say about it. And then today he was streaming and he was talking about how he has to wear a suit when he goes to get his hair cut or something. And just the most bizarre thing. By the way, has anyone ever heard of frozen oatmeal or frozen oats? I've never heard of that sort of thing, to be honest. Apparently, that's what he eats a lot of the time is frozen oats. I don't even know what that is. But it's really good if you want my recipe for making oatmeal. What's really good is you mix oats with milk, shredded coconut, and some vanilla extract. And that stuff is really good. That stuff is delicious. Uh, the coconut and vanilla really adds to it. Um, it's the good shit. Did I say to do it in a rice cooker? Yeah, rice cookers are like the perfect way to do oatmeal. Um, Maybe that sounds kind of weird, but oatmeal and rice are kind of, well, they're both dried grains. And the point of a rice cooker is to make them kind of fluffy. So I used to eat that a lot. I normally eat that when I'm working from home or something like that. So you're living the hellhole that I live in, huh? I guess. Maybe. We'll see. They were supposed to send me my offer letter today, but they like fucked up and they didn't send me the offer letter today. So who even knows? So they like want me to start in Manitoba on in like August 22nd or whatever. And it's been like 3 weeks and they keep delaying on sending me the offer letter. And I'm not like renting a place and moving my stuff until I get a signed offer letter. And I'm not leaving my current job and giving notice until I get an offer letter. I don't know. I just think that makes sense to me. I tend to have a perspective that if something's not in writing and it's not a legally binding contract, it doesn't exist. So if somebody says, "Oh, you're probably going to go to the next phase, you're probably going to get this job," I'm going to send you stuff later on. To me, I just treat it as it doesn't exist. I'm going to keep looking for a job as if I don't have an offer because there's been a lot of different times in which that is not the case. Mold bug. Yeah, I think mold bug is like said that we need Jews to rule us because goys do stuff like abolish abortion. So while I do not like um, what's his name, uh, don't like. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought there for a moment. Fuck, what was I even talking about? Oh, when Knight Errant died, Moldbug donated $2,000 to him. So I his widow. So as much as I dislike him, every time I mention Moldbug, I have to put that asterisk next to it. Even if I do think he's really cringe, he did give money to Knight Errant's widow. I wasn't close with Knight Errant personally. I talked to him a couple of times, but it was extremely tragic the way he died. And I do think anyone who chose to support him in his hour of in his family's hour of need was uh, a good was nice of him. Bap. So I honestly barely even know who Bronze's pervert is. People just kept talking about him, and I never really know who he was. I just the first time somebody told me what his name was, I'm like, he has pervert and Bronze Age in his name, and those are both really bad signs. I was just like, he's probably like the new Jack Donovan. He's probably some anti-Christian Essler, and I proved to be 100% right in my first impression of him. So I don't like Bap. From my understanding, he just a lot of what he does is just attack Christianity and stuff like that. So just looking at the what new animes come out. Why does every isekai have to be harem? I just like I don't get it. It's really annoying. Because I refuse to watch anything that's harem. But it seems like every isekai that comes out happens to be it. Even if it looks like it might be interesting, it just turns it to be harem, and then I won't watch it. But like, what is it that Bat brings to the table that's so great that like we need to like love him and try to make excuses for him or something? I mean, I don't even really know because I've never really looked any into him or followed him. I actually don't really read much political philosophy or almost no political philosophy. Ironically, that was my worst grade in university was political philosophy. I generally prefer to just read history books or political science books or biographies or stuff like that and try to come to my own conclusions about things. Tends to be the way I go. So let me think. What came out last season for anime? I actually thought Skeleton Knight in Another World wasn't bad. I didn't mind that. Dawn of the Witch was terrible. I just watched it for some reason. Spy X Family was really good. I think there was a couple other things that came out. What's her name is Inaudible was like it was aggressively mediocre. I'm trying to remember what else came out last season. Was Attack on Titan the final season part 2 last season? It's like they should have just labeled this the whole series Attack on Titan the final season part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and just called the whole thing the final season. Maybe it's something like really petty to complain about. I just find it really lame to call it the final season when it's not the final season. So I don't know if anybody hasn't heard about it, but yeah, I came down with COVID about 2 weeks ago, or something like that. I came down with COVID on the 8th, and I kind of felt like shit for 3 days. But the nice thing about it is that I've been able to work from home since then. They don't have to commute 3 hours by going to downtown Toronto, which is something that I appreciate, and it's something that is just kind of nice, um, to be honest. But yeah, once again, I don't know if how much the vaccine helped. Um, I did get vaccinated because I had to for my job, um, and just to go into like basic stores and things like that. I never really had that big a opposition to actually taking the vax. I'd always said that I thought it was probably not tested very well, and it bothered me that people said you were insane if you had any doubts about it. But I never really had a strong opposition to actually taking it. So I don't know. Maybe that did help me. Maybe that did help to protect my lungs. I didn't have any kind of lasting damage. I still have a bit of a cough from the COVID, but uh, That's about it. So maybe it did help. I don't know. Favorite Paradox game is probably EU4, and my second favorite one is probably Hearts of Iron 4. Hearts of Iron 4 is just so much better than Hearts of Iron 3. Hearts of Iron 3 was kind of an abomination. I play way too much Hearts of Iron 4. No, sorry, EU4. It's a really good game to have on while you're doing something else. Like, I have it on while I'm watching anime or something. Um, it's good for that. So, yep. I haven't made a secret of the fact that I got vaxxed. I've been pretty open about it. If I'd rather risk whatever the vaccine does than be unable to work. What do I do for a living? I don't. I'm a white collar professional. I don't really want to go into more detail than that for docs reasons. But my office job required you be vaxxed in order to go to work. I haven't played CK3. Actually, what's really cool is the extended timeline mod, which goes back to I think the Romano-Persian War of like 68 AD or something like that, which is a really fun one. Honestly, I think my favorite country to play as is probably the Abbasid Caliphate. I think is my favorite country in the extended timeline mod. Caliphates are really cool in the extended timeline uh, because they have this special casus belli called Caliphate Subjugation, where they can declare war on any Muslim country to subjugate them. But yeah, the mod is pretty is really fun, particularly playing Muslim countries, just because it's a very dynamic situation. The Mongol Empire still being around is pretty cool. Uh, Sometimes it manages to survive. In my most recent game, the Mongol Empire actually has managed to stay together. It just doesn't have much manpower, so it's constantly, um, yeah. One of the problems with the it's not a problem with the extended timeline mod. It's hard to model things like the Rashidun Caliphate or like the barbarian invasions or the Mongols. So they have to give them all kinds of like crazy overpowered bonuses. And if you're facing off against them, it gets very frustrating. But I'm not really sure like what else you're supposed to do or how else you're supposed to make it. So let's see here. What else is going on in the world? What's Resident Evil 4 Winters? Winters expansion. Oh, the mercenaries. Okay. Third person mode. Oh no, it's Village Okay, I don't know. Anyways, I think that's good for this stream. I hope people enjoyed it and found it fun. I'm gonna head out. Thank you everybody who supported me over the years. I appreciate it. Doing this channel's been a blast. I have no intention to go anywhere anytime soon. So, as always, more fun videos to come. God bless, and I'll see you guys real soon.